guys, today we are here that to compare like the selected models of made in USA cabinets, and again this is our line Remington USA, and just for the comparison for normal consumers, we compare the made in USA cabinets from 3 selected companies that are made in USA: the Barker, the CS Hardware, and the Cliq Studio. And here you can see we pretty much select like pretty much the same cabinet, which is the B18, which is 18-inch wide base cabinet. They're all white shaker style, and we choose pretty much the similar style as much as possible. So we're going to talk about inside out, and the cabinet, the comparative cabinet, and see what's the difference. I mean, you guys can already see the price difference, and that's the easy part, okay? And then we have detailed comparison online. The first thing I guess that we're going to talk about is the door and drawer front, and what we see the first time, and which is the major part of the cabinets, and then the finish. And before that, let me have a disclaimer, okay? Myself, Derek, and as though we are involved in the designing and of the Remington USA cabinets, and Lisa is a regular consumer and who has ever done your own remodeling, right?
Yes, absolutely. We love to remodel ourselves.
Right, so as I said, and just on the camera, and we're not script, and then we welcome your genuine feedback today.
Thank you.
Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is door and drawer front and finishing, and our expert Laszlo, and why don't you take over?
Okay, well, according to my paperwork, it tells me that the competitors using solvent-based finishes. The big advantage using water-based finishes, that's less toxication. You can get, even after it's been finished for a long time, you can get a gassing up problem after months, which you don't want in your house. Very toxic, contains formaldehyde and a lot more solvent than just a water base. Our water base is not just a water base, that's top of the line, very high end, and the latest level of water base. Easy to clean, good chemical resistant, good more resistant, and easy to keep it clean.
But Laszlo, I mean, about the finish, when you say that, when you just look at it with the naked eyes, you can't really tell, right? Like which one is base and water base, which one is not? Is that correct?
Well, yeah, you cannot tell by looking at it. You have to have done several tests, and you have to contact with your supplier. You cannot tell. There's no way you can tell, this is a real conversion varnish or not, or a real water base or not. 2-component water base or polyurethane or solvent base or not. You cannot tell.
So you say it's on a system that just based on
Yeah.
the thing. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
And in terms of cleaning and maintaining this, for me and my household, it's going to be exactly the same.
Exactly.
Wiping, using chemicals,
Exactly.
reacting to chemicals the same way.
Exactly the same way. You should not use any detergent, harsh detergent. Soap and water should do the job. Of course, you have to maintain your finishes to keep it in good condition. It wouldn't be different as your carpet. You have to take care of it. Wash it frequently, and just take care of it as much as you can.
Right, thank you.
What about the inside? Talk a little bit about the inside finish.
Well, what I see inside the components, the shelf and the side of the boxes, the cabinet boxes, I see plywood, printed plywood, which is paper basically. Anytime it gets damaged, it's going to bubble, and there's no way to refinish it or take care of it. It'll be gone and ruined. Well, same thing goes inside. You have to take care of it, and it's easy to clean, easy to maintain.
To me, as a consumer, what I often find is some of these inside shelves stain really easily. As soon as a bottle of olive oil opens up, or it stains and you can't get that oily film off of there. Would this behave the same, or?
Well, in general, you know, you have to take care of it. I mean, if you see that you're storing some kind of liquid, just like you mentioned, oil, you just have to take a look at it, and when it's needed, just keep it in good condition. The good thing about the shelf, the finish, you can refinish it anytime it needs to be. If you hire some trade, they can take care of it. With the other version, you cannot. Once it's ruined, it's ruined.
What about the amount of weight that these can carry? Is it all the same, or these plastic things break easily?
Right. This is the cheapest version actually. And from the look, you know, I mean the concealed one, I think it's more kind of preferred choice these days.
Right.
Lazo, about the UV coating, and can you tell us a little bit about that, or you know, just from a layman's eyes, can you tell which one is UV coated and which one is not?
Well, no, it's not impossible.
It's
It's
not
the
possible.
same looking finish. I mean, what you can tell by looking at it, that's the quality of the application.
Right.
So it's smooth, no orange peel, no cracking. That's what you can tell. But you cannot really tell what kind of material being used. So that could be, you know, misleading if you're not having document from the manufacturer or supplier. UV coating, that's very popular these days. Big manufacturer.
What's the benefit of it to?
One of the best coating you can get. The benefit of that, those finishes give you the highest chemical resistance and more resistant. They the most durable finish.
Okay.
But,
Most durable.
yes.
This is scratch too, right?
Scratch too. Yeah.
Scratch resistant and
Correct.
but so that actually has nothing to do with super sunny spots in your kitchen in terms of discoloration
It's
or
just
not?
inside. That's just
Inside, okay.
Lisa, I will take the chance to ask you, I mean, as the end consumer, you know, in terms of kind of like the construction type of a cabinet, you know, as you see, this is the Barker's cabinets at Remington USA, they're called frameless, which means the door and drawer fronts are directly mounted on the poppers of the cabinet.
Okay.
And this too, CS hardware, and this too is called like traditional kind of American style face frame, which means your door and drawer are mounted on the face frame and then mounted on the cabinet body.
Okay.
And then by definition, that's why the frameless is a full overlay, which means you don't see any frame. All you see is door and drawer front. As an end consumer, does that make a difference in your purchasing kind of decision?
To me, as a person that likes to cook and I use my kitchen heavily, definitely from a maintenance point of view, it's an easier clean simply because over here you have to now deal with the frame as well, and this gets dirty over here all the time. So I do prefer this, and also just from a style perspective, I just prefer, you know, I like this kind of look better for sure.
Okay, perfect. Next, let's actually talk about the hardware. I guess that's another thing I guess that people normally look at. Derek, why don't you take over and talk about hardware?
Okay, so this is Cliq Studio, CS Hardware, Barker, and then Remington. We'll talk about the door hinges right now. So the door hinges on Cliq Studio are screw-in. They do have an integrated soft spring in here, but these ones here get mounted onto the frame, which we've seen in the past. Is these screws here from slamming your door over and over, these tend to get loose. And once this hole in here does get loose, it's very hard to actually secure the door back on in its proper position.
And then they start tearing out of that little frame.
Exactly.
Yes.
And what happens once this gets loose and starts rubbing down on this, it starts to ruin the frame here. So this one here has the screw on with not so much of an integrated spring, but it's supposed to be soft closing, but it softs and then it drops on you. CS Hardware, similar. They have a little better case on their framework, and they also have a better spring. This is actually a Bloom product, which we use as well, just not the same product. This one here is pretty much the same comparison flaws as this one here, longevity-wise. Barker.
Yeah, but there's $100 price difference already just between those two.
Correct. So
Yeah.
as you see, you know, when we start to dissect the cabinets, you start to see what you get, what you pay for.
Barker uses a similar hardware than Remington. Pretty much identical except for they use a screw-on
And we also use a 110 plus, which allows at least 10% more of adjustment and 10% more of closure. So with the screw on, if there ever is an issue of refinishing the door, as we all know, taking in and out of screws, strips things out, makes it loose and wear it down. Parker does have a quick release system, just like ours, so you can get the door off very easily if there ever is an issue.
Oh, I like that. That's a great feature.
Now, Remington USA, like I said, we're using similar hardware as Parker, except for we added in the 110 plus, which gives us 10% more degree. Also, ours is what is called a clip top bloom motion.
What does that do?
So what this does is we also have the same quick release. And if you ever had any issues with finishing a door or anything, you can literally pop, pull, and this is off.
Impressive.
And so when we go back to put on, this is makes our assembly very easy. It makes the assembly for the consumer very easily. And the same exact click on, click off system.
That's awesome.
With the soft closing. That's the door hardware.
I really like this, that you can, because I close my cabinets with my,
You would do that.
with my leg, and you know, the children are always just slamming, and that's awesome. I love that. Now, how would this hold up if, I mean, I know this is, obviously it's not made for that, but you know, kids sometimes use this to climb on.
Well,
This is obviously going to give you much more longevity than, for instance, this kind of hinge, right?
Correct. And the reason why is because these are being mounted onto a frame with one screw, whereas these are being mounted into the interior case with two screws. A little bit stronger of connection there between the two.
I mean, this would just be so easy for even me to put together, you
Correct.
know?
And if you ever did like to change the color down in the future, it makes that very easy to strip the cabinet down and be able to put it back together without damaging it.
Recover something.
And that's where the finish comes in. Again, if you want to refinish it, that's easier to deal with than any of these conversion varnish.
Oh,
You-
the water-based.
Correct. You're going to be able to refinish it or hire a guy or company to refinish it. These are very difficult to touch up or refinish it.
That's a good point.
And plus, like you said before about it being toxic, if somebody was in your home spraying this type of varnish as opposed to our water base, you'd be dealing with moving out of your house for a week.
What about the drawer glides?
Now the drawer glides, I think every one of these are all running a soft close motion. The differences between the four are the way that they're mounted and the clips that they're using and the hardware itself. So everything is actually the same as far as closure. Now these two here are very comparable. There's nothing really difference between the two.
They're both bloom, right?
They're both Bloom, tandem, soft closing, drawer glides.
So Bloom is a brand of hardware that you
Bloom is
refer to?
correct. Bloom is
highest.
a brand of hardware which is the highest on the market right now for anybody out there, the
Okay.
consumer or cabinet shop or anything like that.
Right, they're a German brand, but they're made in Austria and in North Carolina in the United States.
Okay.
Now the difference between the mountings is that on the frameless over the face frame is that these are mounted straight to the body, the case. So the structure of it is very strong and it's durable. There's no movement on that part.
Okay.
These two are the exact same to the casework. Now when you get to these ones, see these ones use a mounting bracket in the back and you start to get some movement with that. And when you have a lot of weight in the drawer box and you're slamming and opening these things, those would tend to start to wear out. And plus, nobody wants to hear this when you open up your drawer box.
No, absolutely not. And you know, cutlery and your knives, it weighs a lot, you know. You've got to, these carry weight.
Now on this one as well, same thing. Now this one had a little bit of better back bracket because it was actually metal.
Right.
This one is actually plastic. So, and this one is not Bloom at all. This is an imported glide with a different type of soft closing mechanism. So these ones here, not as soft as what you would get from the other three. You can hear it kind of clicking and making noise in the back. So that on all of those.
What about the kind adjustment. You know, during the assembly, let's say your door front is not totally aligned with your door, and
Yeah, so every one of them on the bottom has these clips on the bottom, and some of them here, like these ones, these two, for instance, only have an up and down adjustment. So, if, for instance, if these aren't lining up perfectly, it allows you to move the drawer up and down so that you can kind of shift this to make it line
I didn't even know
a
that.
little bit better. Now these ones here, there's only up and down, so you can go up and down.
Okay.
Now these in here are all plastic nylons, so they don't last very long, and so they tend to wear out a little bit more, especially when there is, weight being used a lot.
I didn't even know that the drawers generally have that little thing.
Adjustment.
you know what? You might as well take it Foot Locker and Remington to show the difference of the locking device and adjustment.
Yeah, so on this one here, I don't even really know how to take it. Okay, these ones push forward, not out. Okay, so these ones here are nylon with just the two adjustments here for
This is
up
weird.
and down. These two here. So that's what created it to go up and down.
Okay.
The Remington USA Glide clips, you actually pull to release, and these ones here are actually metal
Oh my gosh.
and a high density plastic, and this one also has the forward up and downs, and then they also have side by sides.
Oh, fantastic.
So you can move it this
You can
way.
line them
Correct.
up.
Now
I mean, there's just no comparison.
Barker's here, they run the same bloom, but they don't use the one with the side to side adjustment.
Just the up and down.
Just the up and down, which is still a good clip, but Bloom came out with this one just recently this year, and so now you have another one step of offering to adjust it this way, which makes a big difference.
It's just amazing, price point wise, that the mechanisms of this unit compares to the mechanism of this unit at this price point.
Right.
Good job.
Now this one here at CS Hardware, they're using the Bloom as well, just like ours. Their flaw is using the back mounting bracket instead of using the mounting it to the case.
On the all.
Correct, which is allowing the back end to move.
That's very interesting, I truly didn't know that this was even
Right.
available. Fantastic.
Right. What about the construction? Like your kind of like back panel, side panel, and detail. If we can kind of like do a comparison, that'd be great.
Yeah, so as far as Cliq Studio's cabinet here, construction methods is that this one came assembled.
Right.
This one came in a box, it was already assembled. So really it's not to say an RTA because you're not assembling it.
Right.
It's coming assembled.
That's a good thing, actually.
So for me as a homeowner, I will now just install this or hang this.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the construction method on this is that they're using 1/2-inch plywood for their side case work. They're
Okay.
using 3/8 for their basically stretchers, but they're going the wrong way. And they're using a 3/8 back with the paper veneer and a paper veneer shelf, which is 3/4.
This paper veneer stuff just starts peeling off and it bubbles and chips and
Correct.
scratches off.
Correct.
Okay.
Any water, any type of moisture
Yeah.
hits this will pull away from the wood.
Right.
CS Hardware, this one came as an RTA. This one here, we found when we assembled this that we actually had to get a stapler out to use this in order to keep the parts together.
But now, is a regular stapler? I mean, I can
No.
work with a regular stapler, but
This is not a normal stapler for the consumer to own or to have in their garage. This is more of a specialty stapler that we use to apply the panels on.
is it an air one of those?
Yes, you would need
Oh.
air to run this, yes.
This makes me nervous. Just because I don't know how to work with it.
So this one here is put together with the stapler, and this one here had some rubber grommet insertings. They kind of clip together, which we found that is kind of a feature flaw because the face is actually really loose. And you can see that you can move the whole entire box around.
So I would have to put the face on by myself. I mean, I
Correct.
would have to put the face on.
Correct. And you'd also have to apply your back panel on with the stapler, as I said.
Derek, I remember CS Hardware, they don't even have pre-drilled holes for the glides, right?
Correct.
That's the part if I'm
So I would have to
doing this.
measure that
Right.
all by myself and then...
Correct. You would actually
Put it
have to measure this out to make sure that you got this properly at this height. Otherwise, your drawer could be tipping
Right.
down or tipping upwards without any adjustment. Also, too, you have to mount it into the frame as well here. And also being careful that you don't split the frame. So we'd always recommend, you know, pre-drilling first. So there's a lot more steps taken involved in putting that hardware on.
These one definitely I feel like you gotta have a pro to put it together,
Correct.
you know?
Your regular
Right.
consumer would have a little more issues putting this together with just the instructions they send with that box.
Okay. That's kind of scary.
Right, I mean,
You know, if you've
try to
gone
think
through
about,
all
right.
the trouble of
Right.
you're now ready to remodel and you've decided on your look and your product, and then you have to go through
Wait,
all of that.
that's good that we actually got this cabinet because we didn't know that on the website. There's nowhere, you know, saying that what's needed to put it together. So it's good to have a cabinet. We actually really go through every single step. And yeah, these one definitely I would not attend to do it at all. There's no instructions, and you know, you got to be able to kind of.
And you know, if it's difficult for you guys working in the industry, just because you know kind of what, you know, this is like, for me, I really struggle with good instructions, leave alone if the instructions are bad.
Right.
What about this one, Derek?
Okay, now Barker cabinet makes a really good cabinet here. This one here is actually solid 3/4 all the way around, except for the back. Now, in the back, what they did is they put 2 3/4 inch nailing stretchers, top and bottom, with a 1/4 inch integrated back that actually slides
Okay.
in the groove. Okay, this one here is used with an 8mm conformat. These stretchers here are pre-drilled for you, so when your assembly comes, you line these up and you screw these in.
Okay.
The downfall between the...
But now then it still cracks here.
Correct. You know, now see here and here, it's kind of putting in the screw. It's a little close to the edge, so you have to
Right.
be careful not to overdrive. Now this one here, the downfall between the conformat and it not being any type of joinery there is that these stretchers
Also-
are still loose. Even when you put your subtop on and you secure it down, that's not going to be the biggest issue, but there is movement into the cabinet parts. You actually have to mount your hardware on when you receive the cabinet, but they do have pre-hole drills for it to make it easy.
Okay.
This one, like again, it's all 3/4 construction method throughout, except for the back has the 1/4 inch integrated.
It's pretty sturdy.
It's a very
It
good.
looks, it
instant
looks
box.
sturdy. I mean, I don't know what that would mean if this part can move.
It wouldn't much when you
You
put your
know.
subtop on. That's what I was trying to say.
But this does, I mean, you know, just when you touch it and you feel it and you work with it, it sounds sturdy and
Very
solid,
solid.
and it does sound good. But that's a 358.
So from outside, you know, Remington USA and Bark actually, you look at it, the construction looks similar. isn't
Very
it?
similar.
But inside there's a difference. That
This
one
just
is
has nicer finishes.
So on ours compared to Barker is that we are using all the same 3/4 inch casework, all stretchers, everything. We actually enlarged ours just a little bit. Now, the difference between ours and Barker is one, when you receive our cabinet, the glides and the plates are already on the sides. So
Ooh,
you don't
nice.
have to add any hardware on yourself. The only thing the consumer adds on is the 2 clicks for the door and pushing on the drawer into the box.
Oh, I can do that.
Now, this
And
one
And then
here,
show how they receive the drawer box with
No,
the drawer front attached to it.
our drawer
That's-
box comes with the drawer front already on.
Oh, those you have to actually put
Those
it on.
you actually have to mount on. So this makes ours for an easier installation for the consumer. There's no thought process in it.
Fantastic.
Now the difference between our construction methods between Barker and us is we use is what called data joinery. So
What's that?
believe it or not, our parts interlock within each other. So this part here actually has a qualified tenon that runs into this part that locks it in for structural strength laterally. So
Oh, fantastic.
makes a very stronger box. There is no movement in the parts.
No, absolutely not.
And we downsized from an 8mm to a 5mm because of our joinery, and we're using a 5mm self-tapping screw, which allows you to not have to pre-drill the other part because it has a groove in the screw to allow release the wood chipping out of it.
What's a self-tapping screw?
The self-tapping basically is a screw that can go into a piece without a pre-drilled hole.
So, but it looks a little bit different.
Everyone has, well, every cabinet here can run off a square drive, but this is a number 2 square that we use, and it's actually stronger and less likely to strip out on you.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
going to
Phillips.
ship that one.
And we ship this one
with the order,
with
yeah.
the order
Oh,
in the bag of the
fantastic. Okay.
screw. So the consumer doesn't have
Oh,
to
so
run
I
out.
don't have to go get a drill
Correct.
bit. You will give, I'll get this little drill bit with my screws.
Correct.
Fantastic. Yeah, because I must say, when, you know, I've assembled so many of these with a regular Phillips, and I mean, if you can't get that pressure onto that drill, then it starts spinning on you.
Correct, and then it strips out, and then you end up ruining it, and you don't have to replace it. This one allows for a very locking connection where there is no.
So then
Chance to-
this kind of locks in, and then I just use these screws to just
To
secure
secure
it.
it.
And-
Correct.
Okay. These are also a little dropped a little bit, so I mean there's no chipping here whatsoever.
Correct. Give yourself a little bit more meat on the top
Yes.
of the wood.
Oh gosh, these are beautiful. Sturdy and
Just so you know, Lisa,
Durable.
this is, we had a goal that we designed a cabinet is what we call like a dummy-proof assembly. We want, there are a lot of customers.
well, let me ask you that, have you assembled this?
Yes.
Since you are not,
Absolutely.
you're a
Absolutely.
fabulous designer, but you're not necessarily.
Yeah, you may see me in
You
future
did?
videos
You did?
doing the whole kitchen together. Yeah.
Fabulous, that's impressive, Ian.
Yeah, I actually was really happy assembling Remington USA because I put it together and it was, there's not too much of adjustment in terms of what I struggle a little bit is because I didn't do this every day. It was kind of like drill the screws, believe it or not. And then that's why that, you know, our screws actually by changing the drill bit and stuff like that, I feel like, for me at least, it's a lot easier, you know, to put the screws in and put it in the right way. And in terms of, that is huge for me. The drawer front is already attached, I could just put it in right away.
Right.